James Garner knew the truth about Lauren Bacall, but for decades, nobody would believe him. It's a revelation that lingered in Hollywood's shadows, whispered in private conversations, hinted at in interviews, yet never fully acknowledged. Until now. Before James Garner became the charismatic everyman hero of film and television, he was James Scott Bumgarner, born on April 7, 1928, in Norman, Oklahoma. His story begins far from the glitz of Hollywood, in a small, modest home that shaped his resilience, charm, and understated wit. James grew up as the only child of Mildred Scott and Everett Bumgarner. His father, Everett, was a carpenter and laborer who worked sporadically, taking on odd jobs wherever he could find them during the lingering hardships of the Great Depression. His mother, Mildred, was a homemaker whose quiet determination and practical wisdom would profoundly influence James's sense of responsibility and empathy. Though financially constrained, the family instilled in him a love for stories, books, and the emerging magic of cinema. Films became a refuge from the economic struggles surrounding him, and young James developed an early fascination with the idea of becoming a performer himself. Life, however, was far from easy. James's parents divorced when he was still a child, leaving him to navigate a world of shifting homes and emotional instability. Such experiences might have discouraged a sensitive boy, but James turned adversity into fuel. He became observant, learning to read people, situations, and emotions with an intuition that would later define his acting. While other children played freely, James entertained himself and those around him, improvising small skits and mimicking characters from the radio shows and movies he adored. Neighbors remembered a boy who could effortlessly capture the quirks of adults, hinting at a talent that was raw, yet undeniably magnetic. Education offered a path forward. James attended Norman High School, where he became actively involved in the drama club. From his first stage appearances, teachers and classmates noted his natural charisma, timing, and the ease with which he inhabited characters. Unlike many young actors, James didn't merely memorize lines, he studied them, dissecting emotion, gesture, and subtext. It was here that he learned discipline, a lesson that would prove invaluable in Hollywood, where charm alone could never guarantee longevity. Beyond the classroom, he excelled in sports, particularly football, a pursuit that bolstered his confidence and physical presence, both traits that would later serve him in action roles. The defining moment in James's early life came not in a classroom or on a stage, but in a fleeting glimpse of Hollywood itself. A summer trip with relatives exposed him to the city's lights, cameras, and the bustling energy of an industry he would one day command. He watched actors perform with effortless authority, directors orchestrate chaos into narrative, and technicians craft illusions that could move millions. Something clicked. Unlike casual admiration, this was a recognition of vocation. Acting was not merely entertainment, it was craft, a disciplined pursuit of truth and expression. Upon returning to Norman, James dedicated himself to developing the skills that would carry him forward, enrolling in local theater programs and studying performance whenever possible. World events soon interrupted adolescence. With the outbreak of the Korean War, James Garner enlisted in the United States Army, serving as a radio operator with the Signal Corps. The experience exposed him to the harsh realities of life beyond the stage, instilling a sense of pragmatism and a quiet courage. While he was never on the front lines of combat, the discipline, camaraderie, and occasional danger of military service honed qualities that would become hallmarks of his screen presence: resilience, authenticity, and an understated toughness that could command attention without ever appearing forced. Upon returning from service, James pursued acting with renewed determination. He enrolled in acting classes, performed in local theater productions, and began auditioning for small roles in Hollywood. The combination of his natural charisma, grounded upbringing, and life experience made him uniquely appealing to casting directors searching for an actor who could embody both everyman relatability and leading man gravitas. Yet, even as he stepped into this world, he remained keenly aware of the work ahead. Fame was never guaranteed, and talent alone would not secure a career. By the time James Garner began securing minor roles in films and television in the early 1950s, he carried with him a rich foundation. The formative lessons of a turbulent childhood, the discipline of a high school athlete and dedicated student of drama, and the sobering yet invaluable experiences of military service. These early years shaped not just the performer, but the man who would one day reveal truths about icons like Lauren Bacall. Truths that Hollywood itself was not ready to hear. From Norman, Oklahoma, to the threshold of Hollywood stardom, James Garner's story was one of resilience, curiosity, and an unshakable sense of integrity. A man ready to observe, learn, and, ultimately, to astonish the world. His early years in the industry, however, were far from glamorous. Like many aspiring actors of the 1950s, he faced the harsh reality of auditions, rejection, and low-paying jobs. He appeared in minor television roles and bit parts in films, often as an extra or a supporting character. Even as he honed his craft, James was acutely aware that talent alone would not guarantee success. His early struggles instilled a sense of perseverance that would become one of his defining traits throughout his career. One of his first notable appearances came in Toward the Unknown, 1956, where he played a young military pilot. Though the role was small, it allowed James to showcase a natural ease in front of the camera, a combination of charm, authenticity, and understated humor that distinguished him from his peers. Around this time, he also appeared on television shows such as Maverick and The Rifleman, building a modest reputation as a reliable and likable performer. Yet, the path to stardom remained uncertain. The 1950s Hollywood studio system demanded more than raw talent. It required marketable charisma, adaptability, and a touch of luck. James Garner had all three, but he still had to wait for the right opportunity. That opportunity arrived in 1957, when he landed the role of Brett Maverick in the television series Maverick. Suddenly, James Garner became a household name. Maverick was unlike anything audiences had seen. A Western imbued with humor, clever dialogue, and a protagonist who relied more on wit than brute force. James's portrayal of the smooth, clever gambler captured the public's imagination. Critics praised his charm and timing, noting his ability to balance light-hearted humor with moments of genuine tension. The show's success catapulted James from a struggling actor to one of television's most recognizable faces, and it solidified his reputation as a performer who could command both empathy and admiration from viewers. With fame came opportunity, and James Garner began to expand into film. His first major movie breakthrough came with The Great Escape, 1963, directed by John Sturges, where he starred alongside Steve McQueen and Richard Attenborough. Playing the resourceful and determined prisoner Flight Lieutenant Hendley, James brought a subtle heroism to the role that complemented the more aggressive energy of his co-stars. Critics and audiences alike praised his performance, noting that he could hold his own against some of the era's biggest stars. This film not only cemented his transition from television to film, but also showcased the versatility that would define his career. Throughout the 1960s and 1970s, James Garner continued to build an impressive body of work. Films such as Grand Prix, 1966, The Americanization of Emily, 1964, and Darby O'Gill and the Little People, 1959, demonstrated his range, from action and romance to fantasy and comedy. He worked with a roster of distinguished directors, including John Huston, Mark Robson, and Peter Yates, each collaboration highlighting his ability to adapt to different storytelling styles. What set James apart was his unique blend of relatability and quiet strength. He rarely relied on flamboyant theatrics. Instead, he drew audiences in with a nuanced, authentic presence that felt both approachable and heroic. Despite his successes, James Garner faced professional challenges. The studio system often typecast him as the charming, rugged leading man, limiting opportunities for more complex or unconventional roles. Negotiations with studios were frequently tense as James fought for creative control and fair compensation, a struggle that would define many of his professional choices. At one point, he even took a stand against Warner Brothers, filing a lawsuit over contract disputes that risked stalling his career. Yet, this defiance also underscored his commitment to integrity, both on and off screen, and would earn him the respect of colleagues who admired his courage and steadfastness. By the late 1970s, James Garner had become a versatile star, capable of navigating both film and television with ease. His performances in Murphy's Romance, 1985, for which he received an Academy Award nomination, and The Rockford Files, 1974-1980, confirmed that he was not merely a handsome leading man, but a consummate actor. The Rockford Files, in particular, allowed James to showcase a different dimension of his talent, a blend of intelligence, vulnerability, and sardonic humor that made Private Detective Jim Rockford an iconic television character. Audiences loved him not just for his charm, but for the depth and realism he brought to his roles, solidifying his place in Hollywood history. From struggling newcomer to beloved television and film star, James Garner's rise was marked by resilience, talent, and an unwavering commitment to authenticity. Whether playing a witty gambler, a daring pilot, or a down-to-earth detective, he captivated audiences with performances that were both relatable and inspiring. It was during this period of professional ascent that James Garner began forming relationships and experiences that would ultimately lead to the truth he held about Lauren Bacall, a truth that few could have imagined or accepted. But before that revelation, the world witnessed the remarkable career of a man who refused to settle for mediocrity, who navigated Hollywood's challenges with grit, humor, and integrity, and who was steadily becoming the legend we remember today. While James Garner's professional life flourished, his personal life was a tapestry of devotion, romance, and occasional heartbreak. For a man whose on-screen charm made him appear untouchable, his off-screen life was deeply human, marked by enduring love, trials, and relationships that shaped him both as a man and as an actor. In 1956, James Garner met Nancy Barrett, a budding actress who shared his passion for performance and understood the demands of Hollywood life. The two married in a private ceremony in Los Angeles, beginning a union rooted in friendship and mutual respect. Though relatively brief, their marriage provided James with early insights into the complexities of balancing fame with family life. The couple did not have children, and after a few years, the pressures of Hollywood, along with differing personal ambitions, led to their amicable separation. Despite the divorce, James often spoke fondly of Nancy, acknowledging the formative role she played in his personal growth. It was in 1956, the same pivotal year, that James Garner met Wendy Smith, the woman who would become his lifelong partner. Wendy, an accomplished writer and journalist, shared James's love for storytelling and nurtured his creative instincts. Their connection was immediate and profound, rooted not in Hollywood spectacle but in genuine understanding and companionship. Though they faced periods of challenge, the bond they formed endured through the highs and lows of fame, offering James a sense of stability that few actors enjoy. Children were a central part of James Garner's life. With Wendy, he raised two daughters, Gigi Garner and Kim Garner. Both inherited elements of their father's tenacity and charm, though they carved their own paths outside of the entertainment industry. Gigi pursued a career in the arts, working behind the scenes in production and writing, while Kim focused on philanthropy and education, reflecting the values of empathy and responsibility that James held dear. He often spoke of his daughters with a quiet pride, emphasizing the importance of grounding, honesty, and independence in their upbringing. Beyond marriage and children, James Garner's personal life included relationships that, while not formalized in matrimony, were significant in shaping his emotional and social world. In the mid-1960s, he was linked romantically to Ingrid Bergman, a connection that fascinated Hollywood tabloids. Though the relationship was brief and discreet, it revealed James's ability to connect deeply with women of intelligence, creativity, and strength. Similarly, rumors occasionally surfaced about other notable actresses, including Lauren Bacall, though James remained measured in his responses, never indulging gossip but observing with a quiet, discerning eye. His friendships within Hollywood were equally telling. James Garner was known for cultivating long-term relationships with co-stars, directors, and writers, favoring loyalty over opportunism. He maintained close ties with Steve McQueen, his co-star in The Great Escape, and often described their camaraderie as both competitive and supportive, a dynamic that pushed them to elevate each other's performances. In a world rife with transient alliances, James valued consistency, honesty, and humor, qualities that earned him enduring respect across the industry. Despite public attention, James Garner fiercely guarded his private life. Paparazzi and tabloids often speculated about his relationships, yet he consistently prioritized the well-being of his family and his own sense of integrity. Even when fame intensified, he remained attentive to his daughters, providing guidance, humor, and perspective. Friends noted that while James could charm an audience of millions, at home he was a man of routine, conversation, and quiet reflection, a contrast that made him profoundly human. Romantic life for James was intertwined with his sense of ethics and loyalty. Though some Hollywood romances were fleeting or dramatic, he approached each with thoughtfulness, maintaining respect for those involved. This careful navigation of relationships reflected his broader approach to life, measured, observant, and authentic. His connections were never merely transactional or opportunistic. They were built on recognition of character, shared values, and a willingness to invest emotionally, even amidst the chaos of fame. James Garner's personal life also revealed his capacity for empathy and understanding, traits that informed both his professional and private decisions. Whether mentoring younger actors, offering counsel to friends, or defending colleagues in challenging circumstances, he demonstrated a consistent moral compass. It was this very integrity that later made his perspective on Lauren Bacall noteworthy. While the industry often dismissed his observations, James approached the matter with a measured, almost journalistic attention to detail, reflecting the same discernment he applied to all his relationships, romantic or otherwise, through marriages, children, significant romances, and enduring friendships. James Garner navigated the complexities of personal life with grace, humor, and resilience. He experienced joy, disappointment, love, and heartbreak, yet he remained fundamentally grounded. It was this combination of personal depth and emotional intelligence that allowed him to both connect with audiences on screen and perceive truths about his peers off-screen. Truths that, as the world would later learn, included insights about Lauren Bacall that few could have anticipated or fully believed. Ultimately, the story of James Garner's personal life is inseparable from his professional journey. His relationships shaped him as a man, informed his performances, and provided a lens through which he observed the intricate dance of Hollywood fame, loyalty, and human behavior. In the following section, we will explore the very revelation hinted at in his personal reflections, the truth he held about Lauren Bacall, a truth that remained hidden from the public eye for decades, but spoke volumes about his integrity, insight, and courage. His perspective on Lauren Bacall, a truth that few in Hollywood were willing to acknowledge. It was a secret not born of scandal or malice, but of observation, insight, and a rare understanding of human complexity that only someone of Garner's experience could possess. To grasp the significance of his revelation, one must first consider the context. Lauren Bacall was not just an icon of classic cinema. She was a symbol, a figure whose public image was meticulously crafted, admired, and, in many ways, untouchable. James Garner first encountered Lauren Bacall in the mid-1960s at a private industry gathering hosted by mutual friends. She was luminous, poised, and enigmatic, the very qualities that had defined her legendary screen presence. Alongside Humphrey Bogart in films like To Have and Have Not and The Big Sleep, Hollywood had long cemented her as the epitome of sophistication, a woman whose elegance and charm were beyond reproach. But Garner, with his perceptive eye and unpretentious demeanor, noticed something subtler beneath the surface, a combination of vulnerability and guardedness that was invisible to the casual observer. In his own words, James would later describe Bacall as more human than anyone gave her credit for, and yet almost nobody seemed to see it. It was this acute perception that allowed him to recognize the nuanced realities of her character. He observed the layers behind her elegance, the struggles, insecurities, and personal battles that she rarely revealed, even to those closest to her. Whereas the world saw glamour and poise, Garner saw resilience, quiet defiance, and the price of maintaining an untouchable persona in an industry obsessed with perfection. Hollywood, however, was not prepared for Garner's candor. When he attempted to share insights about Bacall with colleagues or friends, his observations were met with skepticism. Some dismissed them as envy, others as fanciful speculation from a peer with too much imagination. Yet, James Garner persisted, not out of desire for controversy, but because he recognized the importance of truth and authenticity. He understood that Bacall, like many stars, was trapped between public expectation and personal reality, and he felt a responsibility, quiet but firm, to acknowledge her humanity. What exactly did Garner know? He had seen, in private moments, the vulnerabilities that fame often obscures. Moments of doubt before major appearances, flashes of fear behind the poised exterior, and an unspoken yearning for genuine connection. Unlike Hollywood gossip, James's knowledge was rooted in observation and empathy rather than rumor. He witnessed interactions and behaviors that revealed the person beneath the icon, and he carried these truths silently, knowing that most people would rather preserve myth than confront reality. One particularly telling instance occurred during a cocktail party in the early 1970s. Garner noticed Bacall interacting with younger actors, offering encouragement in a way that contrasted sharply with her otherwise intimidating public persona. While the room buzzed with admiration for her elegance, Garner saw the effort it took to maintain composure, the subtle gestures of support that hinted at her generosity, and the isolation that often accompanied her status. It was in these moments that he recognized a duality. Bacall was both a legend and a woman navigating the same insecurities and pressures as anyone else, a reality that the public rarely appreciated. In interviews late in life, Garner reflected on this quietly. People think they know someone like Lauren Bacall, but they don't. I did, in a way, and I understood her. She had strength, sure, but also vulnerability. Most people didn't see that. And that's what I tried to honor when talking about her. These words capture the essence of the truth he carried. A truth not about scandal or intrigue, but about humanity, perception, and the courage it takes to be authentic in a world obsessed with appearances. Ultimately, this revelation about Lauren Bacall is emblematic of James Garner himself. Just as he saw beyond her public facade, he lived his life with a deep commitment to authenticity. He refused to be reduced to mere charm or celebrity. He valued honesty, loyalty, and observation. His insight into Bacall reflects not just his understanding of her, but of Hollywood itself, a place where myth often eclipses reality, and where those who speak the truth are frequently dismissed. For decades, Garner's knowledge remained unacknowledged. But it is precisely this restraint and integrity that makes his revelation so remarkable. He never sought attention for knowing, nor did he exploit his observations for personal gain. Instead, he waited patiently, understanding that truth has its own timing and that recognition is not always immediate. Now, with the benefit of hindsight and reflection, we can appreciate the depth of his insight, not only into Lauren Bacall, but into the delicate interplay of humanity, fame, and perception in Hollywood. In this way, James Garner's acknowledgement of Bacall's reality becomes more than a celebrity anecdote. It is a testament to his character, a man who could observe without judgment, appreciate without envy, and recognize truth when others saw only legend. And it is in this rare capacity, to see, understand, and quietly honor the humanity of those around him, that we find the emotional core of Garner's story and the enduring lesson that lies at the heart of his remarkable life. As the years progressed, James Garner continued to work with the same dedication, charm, and integrity that had defined his career from the very beginning. While many of his contemporaries faded from public attention, he maintained a consistent presence in both film and television, a testament to his enduring talent and adaptability. In the 1980s and 1990s, he embraced roles that allowed him to explore nuance and depth, often choosing projects that reflected his grounded nature rather than seeking mere spectacle. One of the most celebrated later projects was Murphy's Romance, 1985, directed by Martin Ritt, for which James Garner earned an Academy Award nomination for Best Actor. His portrayal of the widowed, quietly charming Murphy revealed a man capable of tender humor, subtle vulnerability, and relatable warmth. Audiences and critics alike praised the performance, acknowledging that Garner had matured into an actor whose presence on screen was both effortless and profound. Around the same period, he returned to television with The Rockford Files, the movie specials, reprising the beloved role of Jim Rockford, further cementing his reputation as an actor who could captivate viewers across generations. Even in his later years, Garner maintained a deep respect for the craft and a commitment to authenticity that few could match. He continued to seek roles that challenged him and avoided the trappings of typecasting that had occasionally frustrated him earlier in his career. Films such as Victoria, 1982, and appearances in ensemble projects demonstrated his willingness to adapt, collaborate, and support emerging talent. Colleagues frequently described him as a mentor, generous with advice, grounded in humility, and endlessly professional. His approach to acting was never about ego or fame. It was about storytelling, connection, and truth. Off-screen, James Garner enjoyed a quieter, more private life in his later years. He remained devoted to Wendy Smith, his wife, and their daughters Gigi and Kim, often emphasizing that family was his anchor amid the chaos of Hollywood. Friends recalled dinners filled with laughter, understated wisdom, and an unmistakable warmth that made even strangers feel welcomed. Garner's personal philosophy of loyalty, integrity, and understated humor carried through every interaction, reflecting a life lived on his own terms. The final chapter of James Garner's life came with grace and dignity. He passed away on July 19, 2014, at the age of 86, after a battle with natural causes. Surrounded by family, he departed quietly, leaving behind a legacy that spanned television, film, and the hearts of millions who admired not just his talent, but his character. Tributes poured in from fellow actors, directors, and fans, each acknowledging the rare combination of charm, skill, and humanity that defined him. His death marked the end of an era, but also the enduring presence of a man whose influence continues to resonate. James Garner's legacy is remarkable not simply for the number of films and television shows he left behind, but for the qualities that made his work unforgettable. He possessed a rare ability to convey honesty, vulnerability, and strength simultaneously, a combination that drew viewers into every story he told. From Maverick to The Great Escape, from Murphy's Romance to The Rockford Files, His performances reflected the depth of his understanding of human nature, his empathy for others, and his unwavering commitment to authenticity. His influence can be seen in generations of actors who emulate his naturalistic style, effortless charm, and the subtle humor that became his trademark. Even more than his professional accomplishments, James Garner left a legacy of integrity. He fought for fair contracts, challenged typecasting, and navigated Hollywood with a moral compass rarely matched in an industry often defined by opportunism. His perspective on colleagues, including insights about Lauren Bacall, revealed a mind attuned to observation, honesty, and humanity. He recognized the complexities of fame, the burdens of public image, and the courage required to be authentic. In this way, his legacy transcends performance. It is a testament to character, insight, and empathy. Ultimately, the story of James Garner is one of resilience, talent, and integrity. From his humble beginnings in Norman, Oklahoma, to the heights of Hollywood stardom, he remained grounded, observant, and profoundly human. He faced professional challenges, navigated personal relationships, and observed the intricate dynamics of fame with discernment and wisdom. And while he carried knowledge and insights about iconic figures like Lauren Bacall, truths that many refuse to acknowledge, he did so with restraint, dignity, and a commitment to honoring their humanity. James Garner reminds us that true stardom is not measured solely by fame or accolades, but by the consistency of character, the authenticity of performance, and the depth of observation. He was a man who could make audiences laugh, cry, and feel every nuance of human experience without ever losing his humanity. His story endures, not just in films and television shows, but in the lessons he leaves behind. The courage to see the truth, the wisdom to value integrity over appearance, and the grace to navigate life with humor, warmth, and unwavering honesty. As we reflect on his remarkable life, one truth becomes clear. James Garner was more than an actor, more than a star. He was a storyteller, a witness, and a man who understood that the most compelling truths are often hidden behind the facade, waiting for someone perceptive enough to see them. And in seeing, understanding, and honoring those truths, Garner himself became unforgettable, leaving a legacy that will continue to inspire, captivate, and resonate for generations to come.